Okay, Professor Horton of Columbia University and his wife Jacqueline Dinan sitting in the traditional lounge in Chapurson, a local guest house.
Well, yesterday was, um, I think, the most exciting day that I have spent in my 4 different trips to this part of Pakistan. It was a long day. We started in Pasu. We drove to Sost, where we traded our minivan and our driver for a 4-wheel drive Land Cruiser and a new driver who knew the road from Sost to Chapurson Valley. Um, when we got to Chapurson Valley, we started a road that was, let me just say very honestly, it was a problematic road, a challenging road. Probably the most challenging road that I've been on in Pakistan, but it also took us all the way to Baba Ghundi's shrine, and the trip there and back was just absolutely sensational. The highlight for me was on the way back, our driver, Shakil, who was very good, spotted some horses in what looked like a beautiful pasture. And it was late in the afternoon, and the sun was beginning to set in the west. And everybody got out of the Land Cruiser and walked out in this pasture and began to sort of walk toward the horses. And it was a beautiful pasture. The ground was kind of spongy. And I sat for a half an hour or so and watched Jackie and Munir and Shakil walked toward the horses and then looked around to the mountains. It's the most beautiful mountain environment I've ever seen in all of my time in Pakistan, and I've spent a lot of time in the beautiful mountains of Pakistan. It was a great day. I will say that there's a maxim in the world of finance that without risk, there's no reward. And this was a day that was kind of risky in some respects because the road was not good, but the reward for having taken the trip was sensational, memorable, something I will remember for the rest of my life.
Thank you, Dinan, Professor Horton's wife.
So my impressions, I was less concerned about the road than my husband was, although a few of the bridges that we needed to cross did cause me pause looking straight ahead. They were narrow, they were wooden, um, they seemed like they had been in place for about 30 or 40 years, so they were a little touchy, but no, the driver was great, and uh, driving out, and I think partly my biggest impression is just as you drive, as you meet people, as you see people, um, and it sounds so simple, but they are just like Americans. The kids are racing to school, they're yelling, hello, hello. People are working in the fields. Some of them have more modern equipment, some don't. I think everyone we met have been particularly educated, and they've chosen to come back to their villages to raise their children in, this environment. So hospitable in such an inhospitable environment is just remarkable to me.
Yes.
And the shrine, we're learning a lot about the nuances between Ismaili Shia and other Shia and Sunni. There are all sorts of distinctions. For me, the shrine, it was a very peaceful spot. It was a sacred spot, and I'm Christian. I was raised Christian, but just to see it in the mountains, and 2 days journey would be Afghanistan, and then to have our friend Munir bump into the son of the caretaker who he had met almost 30 years ago. I don't know, in that way, the world was both kind of big and small at the same time, and in a wonderful way.
Jackie, I have another question for you. There is a general perception that Western women, American women, Canadian women, they don't feel secure while traveling in Pakistan. And I know during your travel you met with local families, you talked with local women in Gilgit-Baltistan. So how are your impression about that?
There definitely are cultural differences, and women have different roles. But I mean, I've always felt safe in Pakistan. I've never felt. I think there's always been. I've gotten a lot of stares. I think there's more curiosity. To be honest, and you can edit this out, I have felt less secure in other Middle Eastern cities, Istanbul or Turkey, that maybe have a bit more familiarity with Western women. I don't know, maybe too, I've gotten older and I'm not a college co-ed, bouncing around. And so as an older woman, I do have to go out and I'm generally often the one that makes the first assalamu alaikum and a handshake, but they're big smiles and people are pleased and they take my hand and they're not, they don't seem shocked. They seem in some way very curious and happy and interested.
Yeah, so you found, women, especially in Gilgit-Baltistan region, they were more, talking with you, and they were more confident. And
they're very confident. Yes, very confident. I think particularly the younger generation. The last time we were here, there wasn't internet, there were no phones, and now everybody has a phone, and everybody has but not in a. But they're not in a. It's not dominated by Western. Influence. It's adapting to the needs of the Pakistani people, and yeah, I mean, we've met, people in that yak grill from Karachi, and, they want to show off their English. They're curious about us. And I think as a woman, you do have to just accept that there are differences, but that doesn't mean you've got to go and you've got to, fight to, everybody's respectful and you learn a few words. And
yeah, I feel like safety for men and women is not really a concern. I don't feel threatened in any way by Pakistan. They're very, very friendly people and very curious. We met a little boy in Minipin who was 9 years old, and he had, he just came right up to our table and started to ask us questions. He's a very smart little boy. And before long, we were sitting with his family members having a very friendly conversation.
Yeah,
it was a nice evening.
Or at Faisal Mosque in Islamabad, the families came over and the children wanted to practice their English, and the wives, they were asking all sorts of questions. I mean,
you were surrounded by.
I was a minor celebrity. I was.
They were talking with you and they were taking photographs.
Yeah. No, people are very. I think perhaps they see so few foreigners, or the foreigners that do come immediately are just trekking in the mountains, that when they do see foreigners, paying respect to their monuments and their sites, I think there's a real, there's a friendliness and pride, and and Ray and I have a real interest in those sites. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Jackie. Thank you very much, Professor Horton.
You're welcome.
Our paths will cross again. We are very much looking forward to your another trip of this region.
Inshallah.
Yes, inshallah.
Thank you very much.